My first question to you, Ms. Gagandeep, is women suffer more stress than men because their response to stress is different. Women have a completely different hormonal system. Your comments?
But I think more than looking at the biology, I think God has made men and women very similar in many, many ways. I think a lot of times the stressors that a woman faces comes from a socialization process. I mean, if every family member supports each other, I don't think working would be that difficult. As you rightly mentioned while you were giving a comment, that women often have more responsibilities. A lot of times it's not that the woman takes them up. In fact, on the contrary, they are given on to her. So whether you're working or you're not working, taking care of the child, if the child is ill, it is your duty to take an off from the work, not your husband's duty. If there is a puja at home, your work can, suffer, or you can take a back seat. No other person will do that. So I think a lot comes from those assumptions that people carry, and a lot of that negative mindsets that people still have, that a man, if he's washing dishes in the kitchen, he's not a man in the true sense, right? So a lot of these nonsense adds to a work pressure of a woman. But if both men and women and the family members respect each other, their autonomy, and they work in coordination, I don't think, sir, women would end up responding very differently. I think they're as intelligent and as smart as men are.
Do you see a lot of this incompatibility growing up because women are professionally, they've grown up in life, they have their own agenda, not agenda, they have their own thoughts, they're individuals on their own.
Earlier, if you think of, women didn't have much of a choice, sir. They were more dependent on men. So they had to just shut up and adjust at a lot of places. So even when they had difference of opinion, they didn't have financial independence to take a stand. It was cultured into their brains that you're here to serve a man. A man is a god. And I somewhere disagree with this. I think a man is a man, a woman is a woman, as simple as that. Neither a woman is a goddess nor a man is a god. And third factor is the fact that the women now have more independence. They have a head of their own. So a lot of times they don't bear bullshit or nonsense beyond a certain point.
Yeah, one way out, so which some youngsters are now looking at, is to have a sort of a contract where they live together rather than getting married. Is this a way out?
I really don't think so, sir. I think relationships is not just about compatibilities. I think it's more to do with commitment. A lot of times people don't even understand the meaning of relationship. So if you enter a relationship thinking what I'm going to get out of it, your guys, both the people are doomed to fall. But if you enter into relationships with the idea of what are you going to contribute to the life of the other? I mean, and I am an ardent reader of Gita and Ramayana and, some of these old scriptures. Somewhere I relate a lot to them. Maybe I'm a little old also by now, or I don't know. If you beautifully look at Ramayana, so there's a beautiful conversation between Ram and Sita where they explain the concept of marriage. What is the meaning of those 7 circles that you take? No, जो हम 7 फेरे लेते हैं. I don't think anybody would even know the basic meaning of these 7 feras. And if you carefully understand the concept of marriage, it's about commitment. It's about contribution that you do towards the other, how you make each other grow.
Now, a lot of people are thinking that since it is a stress, getting children into school is a bigger stress, and then counseling them and making them grow is another stress. So they opt for not having children. What's your view on this?
Again, it's a choice. I think there is no one rule about it. We cannot say having children or not having children is right or wrong. I would not like to see it this way. But yes, it's a choice, and each choice has a cost to it. So if you choose to have children, and I repeat myself that you decide to give birth to your children don't call up and say, give birth to us. So there is some amount of ownership and responsibility. You like it or you don't, you have to deal with it. So when you're living just as 2 people together, after a certain point, there's a lull that comes in any relationship. So I think it's a choice, but at old age, then these guys have to figure out if they are so compatible with themselves, or they can find their work meaningful, or find something else that is more engaging for them, so they don't feel that sense of loneliness beyond a certain point.
I can make out from you that you're extremely strong and focused. And menopause throws up different challenge. There are episodes of depression, mood swings, etc. What are the challenges, especially for a working woman?
All that you need to do in your menopause at that point is, 1, accept this change. Ye aayega. The more resistance you show, the more difficult it's going to be. 2nd, whatever heat flushes are there or the low moods are there, go seek a doctor. No, there is help available. Why are we sitting and cribbing? I mean, I would rather, when I get menopause, I'm going to see it myself. Okay, I'm getting few years more wiser. God gave me a chance to experience this thing also. I'm alive. I'll be more grateful for that.
Yeah, recently I found a very strange report where it said that, beating up of women by husbands is a natural phenomenon, so they don't mind it. What do you have to say about that?
I don't know which women are these. If it is a finding, then I think it needs to change. So the moment you raise your hands or you abuse your partner, you reduce your partner to a commodity in a relationship. I think I have an objection to that. And when you say that it is okay to be hit, makes that partner who says it's okay to accept abuse, which itself is, I think, a crime. You need to take a stand, and that means that probably you don't even respect your own self. I mean, I myself was not into a very nice marriage. My husband was not a nice man. He was infidel. He had many other issues outside. And I think I paid a cost for it because I was one of those women who said, I'm sorry. The moment I realized, for a lot of years, I didn't know because I was trusting him too much. But when I ended up realizing, well, oh, so he is not that person, I did bring it to my family and to my in-laws. And like any other family members, they were like, kar lo adjust, aadmi ki to hote hi hain types, kahan jayega, ghar hi to aayega. I said, I'm sorry, it's not about him. It's about, can I look at my own self in the mirror? If I don't respect a man, there's no point being with that man. How can I love that man? I think it's to do with the attitudes again. And yes, you have to pay a cost for it. Like, I'm a single mother. I'm running the entire family, my work, my business, my son, everything by myself. And it is not easy. I will not deny that. And yet a lot of number of people will say any nasty statements that they have to for any damn thing. People are people, right? This showed me a different phase of life altogether. But that's what I'm saying. So it is, again, your choice. So the moment you say that it is okay to be beaten means you're somewhere indicating that I'm helpless. You're somewhere indicating, well, I deserve this secondary treatment. Somewhere you don't choose to respect yourself, or maybe your fears or insecurities take a toll on you. So if that's a report, I think then the governments or people need to do something to help people learn to respect themselves. And what are the example are they setting for their children? Don't you think this entire cycle will go on? If today I had accepted this nonsense of my husband, I think my son would have been walking on his path. How fair is that?
I would like to ask you a very personal question, in the sense that you said that you had a very tough time, getting out of the marriage and other things and all. So as a single mother and growing post your, separation, what are the difficulties that you had, if you could narrate, and how did you overcome it? Because this would be an example for others also, because we have a lot of single mothers who are having a tough time.
I think the biggest challenge for me was to come to an understanding that this marriage is over. Because I believe marriages are neither made nor are broken in quotes or on paper. I think they're more here or here. So the biggest challenge was to understand that this man no more loves me. He is probably abusing me, and this is an abusive relationship, and there has to be a stop somewhere. So maybe I also took almost a year to work this marriage out, to help him understand and work with my family. Nobody wants their home to be. The second challenge thereafter was to deal with the family and the world outside. And I think that is what has made me more stronger. Like, I had developed ulcers. They were cancerous. They could have been cancerous. And I went through a big shit because I was too invested in my husband and in the family. So I was a very family person, and I'm still a family oriented person. I think that doesn't change anything for that matter. So it was, the second challenge was to be emotionally self-reliant, not to fall onto the others, because कोई अगर आपके आंसू पहुंचता है तो उसकी कीमत भी मांगता है सर्व आपसे. So you need to be very careful of that. Third challenge was, which is a practical challenge. You have 24 hours only in a day, right? You have the same human body that does tire. But running everything, managing everything right from your child, and parenting is a full-time job. And a career that I'm into, which is again psychology, which is not easy. It does talk for a lot of mental strength and emotional stability. You can't bring your relationship issues in your work at the same point. So drawing that balance was another challenge. I think rest the day you make up your mind. And I would rather see this as a blessing in my life, because another challenge was the question, why me? Why did this happen to me when I was the most committed wife, or there was nothing wrong in our whatever, forget all that. Then why me? And I think that's what brought me to Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and Ramayana, because that's when I started to understand what is the meaning of life. And I believe it was a blessing in disguise for me. That's how I see it. I find myself more peaceful and more sorted now.
not all the people are as strong as you. There are many vulnerable people also. So what is the message that you want to give to this section of the society?
Well, I don't know whether I'm strong or not. I would rather say I didn't have a choice. I either had a choice to live the same life that 80-90% of people live, that where they die every single moment, or I had the choice to live a life of dignity. I think I chose the second one, which turned out to be a little tougher, but I'm more happier about it. The only message I can give is one, respect yourself. That is the first foremost thing. Respect the other people too. Third, who says we are weak? Yeah, whether it's a man or woman, again, I'm not going by gender here. I'm going by the person here. Nobody is weak here. Every strength lies within you. All that you need to do is take all your fears, make them sit in front of you on the chair, just opposite you, have a chat with them, tell them what is the fear all about. The day you choose to face your fears, the day you make up your mind that this is what I choose to do, and you're willing to pay for the consequences for the same, I think you can live a far more peaceful and a more happier life. Things begin to fall in its own way. I think they fall in place, sir, automatically.
It was lovely having you. In fact, I had to extend your session by another 10 minutes, which I don't know whether you noticed.
I didn't notice.
So, yeah, it was so engrossing that we had to extend the session. It was very wonderful. And I think you have conveyed quite a lot of strong messages to women. And the underlying factor is everything is in your head. Your attitude matters. I think that's the bottom line. Thank you very much, Ms. Kaur, for having you with us. And it was wonderful hosting. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir.